Hey guys, Marsingen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so tomorrow on Global, well, the time this video comes out, it's probably going to be about 8 hours if you're watching it when the video originally goes up. So we are going to be getting a new stage of Super Battle Road, normal Super Battle Road, not ESBR, for artificial life forms. So this one is actually going to be kind of interesting for global players. I just did a team building guide for the Angel Golden Frieza EZA, and something that we talked about during that video is going to be very apparent during this one as well, because we have a couple of units that were not out on JP when this stage came out that are going to make this stage very, very easy if you have those units. So obviously we are going to go through some of the units on the category. As always with my team building guides, I go over my top picks and honorable mentions, and then if there's any units that you guys think I missed out or should have talked more about down below, let me know in the comment section. And if you do find the guide helpful at all, go ahead and hit that like button, and obviously subscribe to the channel if you are new. I am going to be live streaming the Golden Frieza EZA. I haven't got a huge amount of time to stream tomorrow, but depending on how quickly we beat the EZA, we will be doing the no item run attempts for this on stream as well, which, considering I have the units that I'm going to talk about being potentially the best options, I don't think it's going to take that many attempts. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. I mean, you can see our man right at the top here. So Global, of course, has Gamma 1 and 2 available now. And his leader skill is movie heroes or artificial life forms. Even if we forget about the extra 30% for his 200% lead, he is probably the best artificial life forms leader, because the only other 170 lead for artificial life forms is the Tech Boo, who I'm not really a big fan of. In fact, he doesn't even have full 170, he only has 130 for defense. Now, there are some other options you can use to use different categories that just make a full team that are also artificial life forms, but obviously this guy straight up is going to be the best. And there are a couple of units that we will talk about that are obviously on accelerated battle or worthy rivals as well, which means they will be getting the 200% leader skill. So double Gamma 1 leads, and then honestly this should not be that difficult whatsoever. For the first 4 turns he has guard as well as pretty solid stats. Every time he gets hit, he builds up attack and defense and damage reduction. So even on like turn 1 with no item, as long as he's not taking a super attack as the first attack, he's going to build that up very quickly, to the point where if he's taking like 4 or 5 attacks in slot 1 and the last one is a super, then he's going to take like a significantly less damage from the super attack. So this guy going to be absolutely crazy. And of course his partner, the Gamma 2, so he doesn't have a leader skill for artificial life forms, but of course he's on the team. He's Gamma 1's best link partner. I mean, if you start off, if you jump into the stage and your first rotation on turn 1 of the first fight, you've got Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 together, then you can pretty much put a W on the board, because these guys are going to go crazy. He's going to get his additional attacks for the first couple of turns. These units, we've talked about them in longer events, about how they start to become a little bit less reliable when these guaranteed effects wear off after the first couple of turns, like the Gammas, the Resurrection of F Blues. But Super Battle Road is obviously great for that, because these abilities last for 4 turns. Chances are you're not going to be going longer than 4 turns on the stage. So Gamma 1 and 2 are absolutely just going to be able to go off, and if you have both of these guys, this stage is going to be very, very easy. So you do have the Tech Boo as another option, especially if you do want to run a team. Obviously, all the Majin Buu like units are on here, so you can make like a full Buu character build, and then of course they'll be getting the Majin power part of his leader skill, 4 key and 170 across the board. So does make it a little bit easier. And of course having the artificial life forms one there means you can throw in the odd like non-Majin power unit and they're still going to be getting the leader skill. So this is a good option for making the team. I'm just not a huge fan of this unit in general, because he's like, especially when you start off as the evil Boo, he's not particularly good. Like, he's got a bit of damage reduction but no defense, and then he can exchange on the next turn into the evil Boo, who does have some dodge chance, but again damage reduction but no real defense to speak of. So definitely not an ideal unit in the stage for like a no items run, but if you're building like a very powerful Margin team and obviously keeping defensive items up when this guy is around, then you obviously can, you can use that to get the stage done. So next up we have AGL Cell. So AGL Cell obviously is an option like to run his team, Android / Cell Saga or Power Absorption with the extra 30% to androids. It's perfectly possible to make a full team, all the different cells, Android 13, Super 17, like you can just make a full team under the Cell leader skill. And then obviously in Super Battle Road, this is where AGL Cell is able to shine it straight away in his first form, because he gets all of his extra abilities like the built-in crit and built-in dodge when there are multiple enemies. So obviously he can be very, very effective. He's not a great slot 1 tank, which is one of the issues with his team overall, but when you throw in the fact you can have units like Super 17 and stuff like that, then obviously he's going to be, this team I think is going to be a very powerful option for a lot of people. If you didn't pull the Gammas, I would imagine the Cell team is probably the most powerful team to get this done. So next up we have this Metal Cooler. So Metal Cooler, the Carnival LR from the second part of the Worldwide Download Celebration, has a Wicked Bloodline 200% lead. I'm not going to do it for the no item run, although it may be possible. I might just do it as a separate video to do this guy with the full free-to-play Metal Coolers team. But obviously you can throw in like the AGL, Dokkan Fest Metal Cooler as well. So you could use this guy as a leader, but even if you're not using him as a leader, I think he's worth bringing on the team if you have him, because he has that free revive as long as it's him that dies. So that could definitely get you out of a lot of situations. Even if he's like the odd man out on the team and doesn't really link very well with anybody else, if you find yourself getting into that situation where you're starting a new turn, maybe you're going into like the last fight and you're on super low HP, but you have this guy on rotation, you can just put him in slot 1 and let him get destroyed and get you the revival, and then that could potentially be the difference between you making the comeback and getting the win, or losing. So this guy's going to be very useful, but you can also use him, obviously, like I say, to do the Metal Coolers team, which I think will be a fun video. So let me know what you guys think. I think I will do that for sure. So next up we have Physical LR Cell. So we're moving into talking about the units that will be good on the team as opposed to the leaders. Obviously you're not going to be using this guy as a lead, but with his Easy A, his 12 key is an AoE, does damage to everybody and heals you, so obviously very good. On the Cell team, he's able to put out some pretty crazy numbers, and post Easy A, his defense is pretty good as well. You could definitely get into situations where you just get like a double super with this guy, and then he pretty much like clears the field. So he's going to be very, very useful in this Easy A, because remember, you can mix and match all of this stuff as well, right? Like with any of the units, the Gammas or the Tech Boo that have artificial life forms as part of their leader skill, there's no reason why you can't run like a rotation of Gamma 1 and 2 and then on the other rotation actually have like AGL Cell and LR Cell or something like that, right? So that's the great thing about the Gamma having artificial life forms just straight up as one of his leader skills, is that team is just going to be nuts. But on the AGL Cell team, this guy's definitely going to be putting in a lot of work. And then there's the Int LR Cell. Whilst he's a bit outdated now, he's starting to take quite a bit of damage from some of these newer events, but he does have that ace in the hole of the HP is 30% or less, triggers his transformation into Perfect Cell, which gives you a full heal. And in the early days, when there weren't a lot of options for teams like Extreme In, Androids, like / Cell Saga, stuff like that, this guy came in clutch for a lot of the no item runs with that free heal. So even though he's not the best unit at taking damage, he can still get some decent attack stats. But yeah, he's kind of going to be there just to be the full heal slave, and fits very well on the Cell team, of course. So then we have this guy. He's starting to fall off a little bit in terms of how much damage he's taken from newer stages, because for the first 7 turns he has 300% attack and defense and a 50% chance to dodge. So it used to be the case that in Super Battle Road stages, even if he wasn't dodging, he wasn't taking really any damage in those first 7 turns outside of potentially a super. But now in some of the newer stages he is starting to take a bit more damage. Obviously his link set isn't the best, just considering the version of Boo he is and which part of like the story he comes from, but he can definitely fit nicely on a team. If you're really lacking in slot 1 options, even though it does require you to kind of roll the dice and rely on the 50% chance to dodge, he can be very useful. And he does have a medium chance to stun on super, which of course is always beneficial in Super Battle Road. Like, a good, well-placed stun can literally win you a run, so definitely very useful. Then we have this guy, the Boo Piccolo. So he supports power absorption, so he can still be a very good option for the Cell team with units like the AGL Cell, Super 17, stuff like that. He has a built-in medium chance to dodge, which is only 30%, and he has a 50% chance to stun on super. So he can be pretty useful, but again, like the Skinny Boo, you have to kind of bear in mind that if he's not dodging, he is probably going to start taking a pretty significant amount of damage, especially from supers. But he has that stun chance. He heals 15% at the start of the turn, which is also quite useful. So this guy definitely can be good. If you've got no power absorption units at all on the team, then maybe he's not going to be as valuable. But obviously, if you're severely lacking in options, a unit that dodges and can stun definitely can come in clutch. Then we have this Baby Janemba. There's a couple of heroes units on here that work quite nicely. He does have the dodge chance, 50% chance to dodge. Each time he dodges, it goes up by 12%, which does stack. So once you've dodged a couple of attacks, you know, he can become basically untouchable. As long as your HP is 60% or above, he gets a nice buff when he performs a super attack. That does activate on super, so if you drop below 60% HP before he super attacks, he doesn't get that buff, which can mean, you know, him taking a bit of damage if you're not getting the dodges, and he's not going to hit as hard. But he definitely can be another unit that could come in super clutch if you're getting those dodges. Doesn't have any great super attack effects. His links are a bit on the wonky side as well, but again, if you're lacking in options, he can be a good one. Then we have Super 17. We talked about him a little bit. Obviously, he's a bit outdated, but he's probably the best aging of the 120 lead Easy A's. The first couple of hits of the turn that you have to take, especially if they are like type disadvantage, are going to be doing a pretty decent amount of damage. But once he's fully built up, and especially after supering, he can tank reasonably well. He's not going to be like a one-man army, like he just gets you the no-item run because he tanks everything for double digits. But he can still be very useful, which is pretty cool considering he's a unit that Easy A'd like 2 years ago, and he can still be quite useful. And then, of course, you can link him up with Android 13. They link really well. 13 has a stun chance. We've got Android 16 over here. He raises defense for 1 turn. Has the high chance to guard when all allies in the same turn are Android/Cell Saga, or he guards when there's 3 or more enemies. So that can be quite useful if we look at the Super Battle Road stage for Artificial Lifeforms. The first one only has 2 enemies, but the other 2 fights have 3 or more. So he is going to be able to get that guaranteed guard, at least in the first turn. But I do think in terms of, because you're probably only going to bring him as a defensive unit, I would only bring him if you are running like the Cell team, where floaters are all Android/Cell Saga, so that basically he always has the full Android/Cell Saga rotation, because you don't want that to be the reason you lose. Like, imagine you're bringing the Cell team, but you're bringing like physical LR Metal Cooler, and then on the, you know, you get to the last fight, and you have Metal Cooler in slot 3, so then this guy doesn't guard, and then you get destroyed. So he can be good, but I would only use him on the team where you can get his chance to guard active all the time. Because remember, it is still only a chance to guard, so he could still let you down. But yeah, he can definitely be very, very useful. Next up, we have the Barbady Absorbed Kid Boo, another Heroes card. He greatly raises defense for 1 turn on super and has a 50% chance to stun, so that in and of itself is pretty good. He's got decent enough stats for himself, but he also gives all allies 50% defense when HP is 81% or more, or if you're below the 81% defense, he gives himself a defensive buff and gives all allies extra key and attack. So that can be pretty good. He also recovers 8% HP at the start of the turn. So this guy can be pretty good. Defensive support for everybody else. Can stun. Reasonable defense after supering. So I think he's pretty good. And then, of course, speaking of Kid Boo units, we have STR Kid Boo. Now, he actually gets the 200% leader skill from the Gammas because he's on Accelerated Battle. So this guy can be really, really good. Raises attack and defense for 1 turn on super. Has a medium chance to stun. I think a lot of people forget about him and Goku having the stun chance because most of the time you're using them in like the endgame content where you can't stun. But that can be very, very useful because he has a guaranteed additional attack that has a medium chance to become a super, which could then be another potential stun chance. And then, of course, that helps to trigger the hidden potential additional, which could be another potential stun chance, or just so much damage that you take out the enemy that he's attacking. He also has a 70% chance of nullifying unarmed super attacks. I don't reckon, like, a lot of the characters from this Super Battle Road stage are a bit on the random side. I don't think these guys have an unarmed super, so you don't get to see that very often, which is unfortunate, but it is there. I don't know if any of the enemies do actually have it. Someone can let me know if they do. You're probably never going to see his active skill unless you literally get hit like 6 times in the first turn, which is quite difficult, even with like 3 enemies. So we don't need to worry about that too much. But with the 200% lead, if you're bringing a team that has like the Gammas, and then you bring this guy, bring like some other good margin units for him to link with, he's going to be putting out a ton of damage. So he's going to be very, very good. And then last but not least, I did mention them briefly. I only brought up the physical one here. I just wanted to talk about the metal coolers. Obviously, the STR one gives support. The physical one heals you based on the damage that it does. Int heals at the start of the turn. Tech debuffs the enemy. So this is one of the only events where the tech one is actually one of the more useful ones to use. And then the AGL one gives key support and has a built-in chance to dodge. So these guys can easily fill some of the holes in your team if you're missing any of the other units we talked about, or especially if you have the LR metal cooler and you want to bring at least a unit he can get a few extra links with, then some of these guys can work very, very well. So those are the top picks and honorable mentions. If we go back to the category, I do like LR Baby, or at least I used to, but he's aged quite badly. LR Super 17, you know, as much as I hate to say it, he's my boy, but they fumbled his design. The AGL one probably just is better overall. Prime Battle Cell, a little bit outdated now. Int Metal Cooler Army, we don't have their EZA yet. This guy, he can be good. He's better in longer events because of the build-up. And especially if you want to run him with Kid Buu in a mode like Super Battle Road, neither of them are really good in slot 1 on turn 1. But obviously he can still be pretty good. I didn't bring up the page for Android 13, but we did talk about him. Him and Super 17 link together super well, and obviously he has a stun chance on Super, so he can be pretty good. Is there anyone else that I missed? Tech 16 is okay with his chance to guard, doesn't rely on Android/Cell Saga, although he does get buffs from Android allies, so again, it kind of depends how you build your team. Int Kid Buu, a little bit too outdated, I think. Does heal on Super, which is nice. Super Buu, we all joked about his EZA when he came out, but he does have the heal. He's just not great defensively. So I think that covers pretty much everybody here that would be like a top pick. This Evil Buu, if the enemy's a Majin Buu Saga, so he has his built-in dodge chance, then he would be pretty good. But none of them are, so I don't think he's quite as good. These guys with their EZA are okay. If you are running an Android 13, having them on the team can be pretty useful for the extra effects that they get when he's on the team, like having a scouter. So that can be pretty good. But yeah, those are the top picks and honourable mentions for Artificial Life Forms Super Battle Road. Let me know what your team build is going to look like down below in the comment section. Obviously, I'm going to go with the Gamma 1 lead with Gamma 1 and 2 as one of the rotations, and it'll be interesting to see just how easy they make this stage. So let me know what you guys think down below. Like I said at the beginning, if there's any units you think I missed out or should have talked about more, let us know down below. And like I said, let me know what your team build is going to look like. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.